Why aren't people having kids anymore? Because no one has a spare $300,000.
Gen Z and millennials don't want kids. So the birth rate, the fertility rate in the U.S. has been going down for years.
Why do you think younger people are having less kids?
My parents had kids by the time they were my age, but we would not be able to afford to have a child now.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about why nobody's having kids anymore. I'm not sure why, but I've seen this topic pop up on my For You page a ton recently. And not too surprising to me, it really comes down to cost in 2026. People are struggling to take care of themselves, let alone another human. And with the way things are headed, I don't see this getting better anytime soon. We have a ton of stuff to go over today, so let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But we're going to start off with a funnier skit to lighten the mood before we get into the more serious stuff.
Why aren't people having kids anymore? Because no one has a spare $300,000. It's the same reason I haven't bought a sapphire mine recently. It's just a tad too expensive. I don't want to spend money on a kid. I freeze my bread to make it last longer. I'm cheap. Look. It's not even a joke, it's just a good tip. I don't even spend the fake money I earn in video games. Here's a better question. Why did the people who had kids before choose to make it feel impossible to have kids now, and how can they help fix that? The closest I'm gonna get to having kids is rewatching the first season of Stranger Things. But who's gonna take care of you when you're old? I don't know. Probably an AI android with a voice just different enough from Scarlett Johansson's for it to be legal.
And unfortunately, even though the last statement was a joke, he's probably not too far off what the future's gonna look like. I don't know, we are living in crazy times right now. But let's dive deep into a little bit more of the stats with the declining birth rates.
Gen Z and millennials don't want kids. So the birth rate, the fertility rate in the U.S. has been going down for years. It's now at a historic low. And what's really interesting when you get into the Pew research underneath it is the reason people are not having kids has changed. So put up this graphic here and I'll talk you through it. People over the age of 50 who have not had children, they say, look, it just didn't happen. Basically, I wanted to, but it was bad luck. Young people today say, I'm not even out here trying. I, period, full stop, don't want children. That
is a big shift.
That is a big change. There's a bunch of reasons. A portion of them cite the cost.
The cost of childcare is bananas.
It's bananas.
School is just, it's
crazy.
Unreal.
A portion of them cite worries about the state of the world, climate change, and then 20% say, I just don't like kids.
And these are all fair reasons. I don't know about not liking kids.
The state of the world and climate change, meaning they don't want to add to our population because of the pressures.
Or they're just worried that the quality of life is getting worse and worse.
We can't afford apartments. How could we afford kids with 146,000 likes? Correction, we can't afford kids. Another person says can't afford them. I want kids. But we could go a little bit deeper into the daycare costs because a vast majority of families need 2 full-time working parents just to be able to make ends meet. But on the other hand, some of these ridiculous prices eat into most of the money you're going to make the entire year.
We spent $53,400 on daycare tuition last year. I'm Jen, I'm a mom of 2, and I also have a full-time corporate job, and my family uses daycare as their source of full-time childcare. And I try to be transparent on here in terms of how much it costs to be a dual-income family, especially from a childcare perspective. We just ended 2025, and I made the mistake of going into my parent portal and looking at our tuition summary for the year. We spent a total of $53,432 on daycare tuition. And I have 2 kids. I have a 4-year-old daughter that's in the pre-K program and a 2-year-old son that's in the TWOS program. And we actually get a discount for having 2 kids enrolled in the daycare center. So our total is actually closer to $55,900, but we saved about $2,600 with that sibling discount. And I posted a couple weeks ago about how we already got the daycare tuition increase email for 2026, and our tuition is increasing about 5%. So that would put our total closer to $59,000 for 2026. Luckily, our daughter is going to public school kindergarten in the fall, so there is a little bit of reprieve on the horizon. But the next time someone asks me if I'm going to have a 3rd kid, I'm just going to start showing them these daycare bills.
And that's part of the reason why people aren't having their first kid. I did also think it was almost insulting saving $2,600 with the multiple kid discount, even though you're still paying $55,000 in one single year. That's insane. I do know that daycare prices vary throughout the country, but to be honest now, there aren't many places where it's actually affordable. $55,000 would be a good chunk, if not all, of your income after taxes for most people in today's world. We have an au pair, highly recommend. I mean, I'm not sure what the cost is for that, but if the prices are similar, it might be a better deal. That's a whole yearly salary. That's what I was saying. You might as well have a nanny for that amount. I'm so confused on how my husband and I are going to do this. I'm starting medical school soon, and I just don't know how we're going to be able to afford a family during my next 12 years of schooling and training. And if we wait those 12 years until I'm established in my career, we'd start having kids right as we're pushing 40. Why does this country make it so hard for us to both have a career and a family? And that's a pretty good segue into talking about this isn't just a US problem. This is happening all over the world as well.
Why do you think younger people are having less kids?
My parents had kids by the time they were my age, but like we would not be able to afford to have a child now.
Most people our age can barely afford to live for themselves.
I can't pay my rent.
I guess people are busy, lead busy lives, have careers.
Cost of living crisis for sure, and I'm still getting my life in order, so...
A lot of people don't want to bring kids into this world with like the current climate, like environments, like things going on politically. Like people don't want like to bring children into the world for them to grow up like that.
Having a child is a good thing. It makes you more of a man.
Wanting freedom. People feel like children are a burden.
Even though it is a financial burden, the love that it gives our family outweighs anything.
Knowing what it costs and the hours people have to work to keep a family is staggering.
I wouldn't suggest not having a baby due to finances, just make it work.
When I was younger, I learned so much about overpopulation, and I was really worried about that and thinking like, oh, maybe I'll do my part and not have kids.
Having children is not as easy as it used to be. You can't just take 3, 4, 5 years out.
We could go right over to the comments. Just make it work? What kind of advice is that? As a child of a make it work mentality, please don't.
I feel in today's society, kids are a luxury.
We're renting, we budget, and thinking about what it costs, at least in Australia, to have a child, especially in Sydney, and wanting to have the best for it.
It wasn't a really hard decision in the end to say, you know what, I actually don't want that.
If there wasn't the worry of money, we would have definitely explored the option of having more children. But because, we have used our savings, there's the expense of daycare, our kids being at school, all the other expenses that comes along with that, we just now don't have that option.
Australia is experiencing what some are calling a baby recession. KPMG analysis shows the estimated number of births in 2023 was the lowest since 2006. That's against the backdrop of a long-term decline in Australia's total fertility rate, which has been falling since the 70s, and more recently dropped from over 2 children per woman in 2008 to just 1.6 children.
And if I wanted to, I could show you even more examples of the same things happening in places like Japan, South Korea, all for basically the same reasons. Nobody could afford kids. $5,000 in daycare fees per month is simply extortion. My heart is aching for a baby. I bought a house to prepare, and now I live paycheck to paycheck. I simply can't afford to have one, and I'm almost 30. I could barely afford myself, can't even afford a cat, let alone a person. Currently 5 months pregnant and working for a company that cut paid maternity leave from 3 months to 4 weeks. We're going backwards. And I know talking about this topic, a lot of people would probably think that I'm on the same bandwagon of not wanting to have kids either, and that is not true. I do want to have kids one day, and honestly a rather large family. However, because of that, I know I'm going to be spending a ton of money to keep that family running. I can understand why others wouldn't want to deal with that stress whatsoever, and they'd rather take some of the extra money that they'd make from their jobs and go on vacations, travel, buy luxury goods, whatever. But I will say, if we stay on the same trajectory, wouldn't that mean your future kids would have way less competition because there's less people out there? Even with the current AI scare, there are a ton of jobs that are going to need to be filled, and if there's less people around, it could make it easier for your kid. I don't know, that's just my thoughts on the whole situation.
I love this Wall Street Journal article. It's called What Happens When a Whole Generation Never Grows Up. And it basically talks about how late millennials are kind of in this state of arrested development. And it talks about why that is, the economic factors driving it, but also what it means for our collective society when a group of people never reach those traditional markers of adulthood. A third of today's young adults will never marry. The average age of a homeowner has gone up, which means younger people, like in their 30s, are not buying homes or buying their first home. And according to a survey by the Pew Research Center, the share of childless adults under 50 has risen from 37% to 47%. And part of this could just be people not choosing a traditional path. But when the scale is this big, it does kind of raise these questions about, are these goals just out of reach for a lot of these people? And if you ask a lot of these people, if you talk to economists, a lot of them give the explanation that they can't afford to grow up. You know, rising inflation, ballooning housing costs, it's very expensive to have a kid. And that's what's kind of preventing them from reaching these milestones that a lot of them want.
The money doesn't go as far as it did even 10 years ago, I agree. A low six-figure salary is no longer good money. I will say it does depend on where you live, but if you are anywhere near a pretty popular city, basically just the Northeast in general, those places have gotten so unbelievably expensive, I really don't know how people live there. It's the exact reason why I moved out of New Jersey. But this next clip I wanted to put in because I thought it was funny that this college was blaming the birth rates. Just completely ignore the absolutely wild tuition costs. It's your fault because you're not having kids.
This used to be the College of New Rochelle, which survived the Spanish flu, 2 world wars, and the Great Depression. But it couldn't survive budget problems, tax bills, and steep drops in enrollment. And experts say nearly 400 colleges could suffer a similar fate in the next 10 years. The reason is simple. There aren't enough students to fill classrooms. That's because people stopped having as many babies around the start of the financial crisis. 18 years later, that falling birth rate is showing up as empty desks. For colleges who rely on tuition to keep the lights on, missing even a handful of students can mean the difference between life or death. Already, more than 40 schools have shut down since 2020. Many of them cite falling enrollment as what led them to shut their doors. And it's only going to get harder to keep classrooms full, as the birth rate will likely continue to fall.
I don't know, them making it seem like they're running on razor-thin margins, as people are seeing tuition costs go up to $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, all while simultaneously these universities are constantly getting new training facilities, building up their football stadiums to be even bigger, I mean larger than NFL stadiums. But yeah, it's your fault because you didn't have enough kids to enroll into our colleges. They're blaming everything but the increasing tuition. Oh, declining birth rates are the problem, not that charging $60,000 a semester is the issue? Maybe lower the cost. I mean, that was the entire comment section. And they completely ignore the people just skipping out on college in general. It's not worth it for bare bones pay at a corporation that's going to instantly fire you when there are any budget cuts. People are turning to other options today, like going to trade school. College is becoming less and less worth it every single day.
You literally can't make this stuff up. In my newsfeed right here, it says U.S. birth rate hits new low, CDC data shows. And more top stories right below it, it says investors bought 1 out of every 4 affordable homes last year. It's like we pretend that this data is surprising and that the answer isn't right in front of our face. The real reason why nobody my age and nobody younger than me is going to have kids. The new houses that are being built are about in this price range right here, and a large portion of the affordable ones are bought up by investors. At the same time that the dollar's been losing its value like crazy, this guy right here breaks it down pretty well. It might not be 100% accurate, but it gives you a good idea. It says right now the average rent is $2,000 when the average income is $50,000. Whereas in 1990, the average rent was $500 and the average income was $30,000. He says the rent has gone up 4 times and the income hasn't doubled. And he says that maybe millennials aren't broke because of avocado toast. And I hate to say it, but I'm sorry. It doesn't look like things are going to get any better. And it only seems like less and less young people will have kids. Huge news article around here advertising they built 46 affordable housing units over the summer. That's in a city in a region of hundreds of thousands of people.
I'm Gen Z, and a lot of us have come to the conclusion that we will never own a home. To add on to it, the houses are made of cardboard and cheap wood. They're not going to last nearly as long as the houses that are already built. But those homes have priced out so many people now. I've completely accepted the new reality. I'll never own a home, I won't mother children, and I will not marry. I live for me and plan to travel. It's freeing. I know that that's the sentiment for a lot of people right now, just my own opinion. I'm not saying that I hate traveling, but I do like being at home. Even if you gave me $1 billion, I wouldn't be traveling, going all of these places constantly. I guess I'm just more of a homebody in general, but that does not seem like most people's sentiment now. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.